Happy Casual Wine Geek Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. I tried to harmonize. That was terrible. Aren't those corks like super short? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and they're a little bit crumbly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of short.
Welcome to the Casual Wine Geeks.
Oh, hi. I'm Brandon. Who are you?
I'm Amanda.
And hey, who are you?
We have a very special guest today.
Hello, this is Hilary.
Hi.
This is our very first guest. I'm so excited.
I'm really stoked. Thanks for coming. Do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Sorry, we're sharing a microphone. One moment, please.
I could have waited until you had stopped pouring. I could have not been such an asshole.
Hi, I'm Hilary. Thanks for having me. This is awesome, sitting here and tasting wine. I'm a friend of Amanda's from work, which is where we know each other. I'm a chocolatier and a pastry chef.
And smart as fuck.
And super cute.
Also true.
Thank you both. You flatter me.
Yeah, thanks for having us, because I'm going to have questions about chocolate for you later.
Yeah, today's episode is all about desserts and pairing desserts with wine.
Yeah,
and what do you do?
I've got, as usual, information.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Some of
Happy
it.
Wine Wednesday. Did we already do this part?
Well, who says we can't cheers more than once?
I want to do it again.
Let's just cheers as many times as we want to, because it's Wednesday.
Grab a glass. Join the fun. Woo. Woo. We poured ourselves a little Moscato d'Asti. Now, Hilary, you, before the show, we were talking about a little bit, kind of briefing on what we were going to be tasting today. And you said that Moscato d'Asti, you had a very funny comment.
Well, I'm not being much of a wine drinker or not having been into it, but Moscato d'Asti is kind of the peach schnapps or the schnapps, your intro wine, the first one you try.
I think that was a really good comparison.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great with white cake, which is sort of our first
like
introduction
white
to
cake,
dessert.
wedding
Yeah.
cake. You know, you should serve this instead of champagne. And we'll talk about why. I've got a whole list of rules and do's and don'ts and helpful tips and hints and tricks and some recipes and some good
things.
Yeah. The world of dessert wine is vast and varied and huge as fuck. Every wine producing, were you about to say like us? Huge as fuck? Just my hair.
Big.
Oh, it's kind of curly today. Well, okay. So everywhere that produces wine, that also will produce a dessert wine. So every wine producing region also has a dessert wine for those areas. So we are representing quite a few places today.
Yep.
I brought a port.
Yes.
So we've got Portugal down. You brought a Pinot de...
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I love it. It's the cognac fortified wine. It's like a with the grape skins. We talked about it on an earlier episode.
I want to say the problem is I'm thinking Spanish. So I want to say Charentes, but that's not right. Well, it'll be typed. Don't worry.
It'll be fine. We have a Riesling.
Yeah, I found a Riesling. We've got Montbazillac, which is similar to Sauterne, same area in France. So white dessert, kind of sweet. And then you also brought...
Oh, yeah, a Fire Barrel cider, apple cider. Because if you're having like a ginger snap cookie or an apple crisp, don't discount cider. Cider's a great dessert.
Well, and especially these guys, Finn River, so they're out on the Olympic Peninsula here in Washington, and their stuff is amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And what I like about this a lot is that they ferment with a seasonal blend of heirloom and traditional apples. However... Is it this one?
They have
maybe it's a different
giant
one.
like heirloom apple orchard.
Yeah, it's
That's what I love
beautiful.
about it out there,
Their space is really gorgeous.
And they just a couple years ago they opened that new tasting room. Have you been out there at the new place?
Not since they've redone it. No, we should go.
Amazing. We should go. Hi, Finn River. We're gonna come and visit you.
Yes, we are. We'll have a cider day.
Yay!
And then you also brought a Moscato d'Asti.
The Moscato d'Asti that we tasted.
That we started with. Cheers. So I definitely have some information on some of the things that these are, and we'll have a whole maybe like. Because we're gonna have a sherry day.
Yes, don't call me Shirley. I mean
Sherry. Oh, I think I'm funny. So maybe we'll have another day of just like French desserts or Italian dessert wines because there's a lot. So I was looking for a Vinsanto, one of my favorite producers. I found one, but it was a little bit more than I felt like spending.
Was that the Felsina one? Oh, God,
but it was like a 2005, right? So that's like vintage and delicious, and we've had it, and it's so good with biscotti and like nutty hazelnut.
Yeah, everybody needs to try it. So good.
It's not Il Santo, it's Vinsanto. Well, we had that really terrible Vinsanto when we were in Florence.
I don't think it was Vinsanto. It was
That's why we called it Il Santo.
Il Santo, yeah. It was really
kind of like really in my notes the Sauterne. So this Montbazillac is not. Did I say that right? Montbazillac, yeah. Is not a Sauterne, but it's close. It's across the river from Sauterne. So my tab in my notes is Fauterne.
Fauterne.
FAUX-TER.
That's getting a hashtag.
Right, it's not a Sauterne, it's a Fauterne. But I'm ching.
I love it.
I was giggling to myself when I was polishing up my notes this afternoon.
It's almost as good as the Chianti to my heart.
Right. We can go on for hours.
The puns are strong.
It's true. Okay, so dessert wine.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh, wait, do we have housekeeping?
We have a couple of housekeepings. It's official.
What's official?
We're gonna have business cards. and regular cards.
Oh.
And
there's more?
Oh yeah. I had a bad day, so I went on a buying binge. We have coasters.
Pretty excited about the coasters.
They're cork, and they have our logo on them, and I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So
Patreon people will get those for free.
Yep. Patreon people will get those for free. If you want one, we're putting together a merch tab for our website, so you could go there and buy them as soon as they come in. Yep. And we have a whole, I got some secret swag coming. I've alluded to this in the past, but there's some really cool shit. If you sign up now. That's my plug for Patreon also. Housekeeping. Thanks. Thank you. I have one more thing.
Oh, yeah?
It's almost Girl Scout cookie season.
Ugh.
And we were doing dessert wines, and I sent you a link. Can we talk about the wine just briefly at some point in this episode, talk about what wine you should serve with what type of Girl Scout cookie?
Oh, yes. Yes, we will.
Yes, that was my whole. And then Hilary's here, and she brought some chocolate as well, so we can taste through.
Yeah, which will, I think, be really tasty with this port.
Yeah.
And maybe this guy.
Well, let's choose one. Let's pour it out.
Yeah.
I'm ready to pour it out.
Should we start with whites?
Sure. We have the Moscato d'Asti, the Riesling, and the Fauterne.
Okay, what was I looking for? Girl Scout cookies.
What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Obviously the Samoas.
Samoas.
Why does everyone say obviously? Is that the most popular Girl Scout cookie?
Either that or the Thin Mints.
See, I like a Thin Mint.
I don't like the Thin Mints.
I like a Thin Mint, and I like... Wait, is the first one with the coconut?
Yes.
Yeah.
Coconut and caramel.
With the chocolate glaze and the little crispy crust, like the graham crust.
Not into it.
Oh, bad call. I bet it pairs the best with wine.
Well, there's a list.
There is, and it according to these folks at Vivino, say that it pairs best with a Rioja.
Oh, and we do love a good Rioja. I love a Rioja.
Oh, this is interesting. These are also a bunch of Girl Scout cookies that I'm not familiar with because I only ever get one kind. I'm like, what's a Thanberry Fuck. What's a cranberry citrus crisp? Or a lemonades, or a rah-rah raisins, or a Savannah Smiles, or a Thanks a Lot, or a Toffee-tastic. These I think are...
Those are made-up names.
Well, not according to this website.
We're really talking about the Samoas, the Thin Mints, the do they have a shortbread or a...
Tagalong, and what's the peanut butter one?
The peanut butter... Well, Tagalong is peanut butter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and they say you pair with an Amarone. Peanut butter patties and tagalongs are coated in chocolate and peanut butter and have a big taste, which means that they need a big wine. Go get an Amarone. Here's the thing.
Oh.
If you're buying Girl Scout cookies, we buy them because they're inexpensive and they are for a good cause.
Yes, that's why you buy them.
Here's
And
what's not inexpensive.
Amarone.
Fucking Amarone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We'll do an Amarone day and...
We'll only bring one bottle that day because that shit is spendy.
Oh, yeah. No, just one bottle. However, for dinner, I say we have lamb.
Yeah, fine. We'll
God, you remember that lamb?
In Italy?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so Samoas with Riojas and Thin Mints with Brunello.
Here's the problem that I have. When you have something sweet, like a Girl Scout cookie, which tend to be very sweet, you have to have a sweet wine.
Well, that's how I can sort of see Amarone, because it does have a lot of those, like, cooked fruit, candied, jellied, toasted nuts, you know, whatever situation. So I think that's definitely a possibility. I just don't. I mean, I would do like a Ripasso or like baby Amarone that aren't going to set you back $85 and are only going to be like $30.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm having a hard time with the whole thing.
So the faux turn.
The faux turn.
What do we think? Do you dig? Do you hate?
I like it a lot. What would you pair with this?
This is a sweeter white from southwest France. Montbazillac is right across the river from Sauternes in the south of Bordeaux. So kind of Entre du Mer sort of ishy
south
area.
Of Bordeaux.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, one website I found just listed everything, and it was 9 pages of recipes.
Holy shit.
Now, some of them were not dessert. Some of them were food.
Or just like regular
which I really actually came across a lot. A lot of the research that I did for this episode was I came across quite a bit of sweet wines are not just necessarily for dessert.
I like it with cheese.
Which is listed in quite a lot of the things that I found, in different types of cheeses for different types of wines, for sure. Like this, apple cake, apple pie with cream, apricot tart tatin. You know, it goes down quite a lot of cream-based desserts, but blue cheese for sure.
We have blue cheese.
We do. I brought 2. One of them's from Oregon.
Thank you for bringing those today.
No, you're welcome.
What about herbs? Some nice rosemary.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Just to kind of balance things out a bit.
Yeah, make it a little bit more savory, but that could even go dessert too.
Yeah. Well, the winemaker notes for this wine specifically are peach and white flowers, rounded and silky. The mid palate is sustained by very pleasant roasted aromas. Beautiful long finish, very well balanced.
Oh yeah, that pairs nicely with
blue cheese.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you were chatting, so we were snacking.
Oh no, it's absolutely help yourself. Get those snacks.
That's delicious.
Yeah, so this AOC, this winemaking region, was first established in 1936. However, they've been making sweet wine there for a really long time. This is the only wine made from grapes grown in this area that are affected by noble rot, which we call botrytis.
And this is botrytis wine.
Mm-hmm. It's a botricized wine. So what botrytis is a mold that essentially affects your wine grapes because it's infests them when they're in really moist conditions. So the fall, you know, the temperature's dropping, but if you're close to rivers where a lot of our winemaking regions are, you'll see an uptick in like mist or fog, which sometimes will definitely have an effect on causing a certain amount of moisture to condense around your grapevines.
Yeah, it's a good mold, not a bad mold. It's this kind of mold, you know, helps make the wine sweet, helps bring up the acid. Like it's this naturally occurring. People think of mold, it's like this green stuff on your cheese that you throw away, right?
Right.
And this gross, but that's not the same.
No, not at all. And so what happens here is that it essentially is, once the temperature comes up a little bit and it's not quite so wet, it causes the grapes essentially to almost partially raisin.
Yeah.
And like when you see them,
sugar on
they're
them.
itty bitty.
Yeah, teeny tiny.
Itty bitty, not very large at all. So noble rot is the thing that you see in a lot of places, specifically Sauternes in this whole area in the south of Bordeaux. So this, like I said earlier, this wine is just sort of across the river, and they do the same blend of grapes as you have in Sauternes, which is Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, Muscadel are all of those. in that. However, here with this wine specifically, they have a higher proportion of Muscadel to Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon.
I really like it. I would buy this again. Given that it's about the same price as the Moscato d'Asti, I would buy this over the Moscato d'Asti.
It's kind of thick and it is a little rich.
Yeah, but it is really, really good with this blue cheese.
So I could definitely see it with, what are some of the other?
Like bright high acidic fruit and a cream sauce. Yeah, definitely.
Sauterne was one of the things that kept coming up a lot because it is very famous and for good reason. However, it's really expensive.
It's super expensive.
It's pretty pricey.
Yeah.
So in a lot of the things that I was looking at in terms of good dessert ideas to pair with these wines, sometimes I just substituted Sauterne. It's very similar.
Yeah. Just like we have talked about in the past, the wines that we bring to the show are between $10 and $20.
Yeah. This was 15, 16.
Yeah, I think the Moscato d'Asti was like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Like, I really wanted to bring that Vinsanto, but $50. Not today.
A 1957 port, probably not appropriate for a podcast.
Well, that and also, right, like know your audience and play to your people. And
how often do you get to, most people are buying between 10 and $20.
That's what I'm usually buying.
Yeah, for the night. What about you, Hilary? How much do you spend on a bottle?
I'm also in the 10, 15 is kind of where I max out.
Yeah.
I think we're right on our market.
I hear you. Picking up what you're putting down. Well, Sauterne definitely would be good for something like a creme brulee.
Oh, yeah.
Right, you've got that caramelized sugar.
Yep.
But also that richer, creamy, because it's a pretty rich and creamy.
But the acid is so good on it. It can handle, you taste it. It is rich and creamy. It is kind of heavy on the palate, but the acid in it makes your mouth water some more. It makes, kind of moves everything around in your mouth. So yeah, I think it's a great wine.
Well, okay. So like the Moscato d'Asti though, you will see that a lot with fruit-based desserts.
Yeah.
In the summer, I think like grilled peaches, maybe with, what do I always do with my grilled peaches? I like, just like a good creme fraiche. It's grilled peaches and creme fraiche.
I like hanging out with you in the summer. Yeah. I like hanging out with you.
Apple pies.
Let's grill all the things.
Yes.
Let's eat all the things off the grill.
Also true. Also true. What
did you bring for chocolate wise? Because I see a whole stack over there and it's been a day. I'm like, wine and chocolate tonight? Yes, thank you.
So I only brought a couple of things, actually. I've been playing a lot with making my own chocolate. So I have a couple from 2 different regions, as well as some chocolate-covered cocoa beans. So it's what you would get as nibs, but it's got the whole shell and everything, and then it's coated in chocolate. So they're kind of, like wine. You have the terroir.
Right.
You do with cocoa beans, too.
Right.
So we have 3 different regions, a little bit different flavor profile, and all of that good stuff.
But they're all the same species of plant?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. So like wine grapes are all the same species, right? Right. Vitis vinifera is the species. Yeah. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Yeah.
I would imagine that coffee beans are from the same species. There's a genealogy, right?
Yes. There is a genealogy. I guess, so yes, they do all come from the parent tree, but there are different varieties. You have there's like 25 and they're finding new ones or ones I thought were extinct all the time.
So it is like wine.
Yeah. And coffee.
Were you impressed that I could just name all of the order of?
Actually, I had to have a moment. I was just like, holy shit, this guy who doesn't say that he's into science, that's super science. That's sexy science. You just named off all the things.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have remembered any of that.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yes. You get my Smarty Pants award
today.
Hey,
Miss Hopkins, my freshman biology teacher. Now, I never took chemistry or physics. I did take biology.
Well, that's the fun class.
No, it wasn't really.
We talked about Moscato d'Asti. We hit on Sauterne. We have so much wine tonight.
I feel a little all over the board with how I decided to write everything down.
Yeah.
So
do you want to just go off the rails?
Let's just be off the rails. I mean, dessert is the end of the meal. You're satisfied. You're having conversations with your friends. People are milling about. There's no real order to things. Right? There's
no order. Okay.
That's what I think.
All right.
Hey, you put something in my glass there. What is it?
Oh, this is the Pinot. This is a fortified cognac, fortified with grape skins.
That's so good.
It's grape skins fortified with cognac.
So it's a regional French aperitif made in the departments of Charente-Maritime, and to a much lesser extent, the Dordogne, which is in western France. That's one of the rivers in Bordeaux.
Can we taste one of your chocolates that you think would go with this particular Pinot?
We're going to go with a little dark.
All right, cool. I'm down. I'm like super excited about this chocolate pairing.
This was my first go around at making my own chocolates. Be kind.
Your first? That can't be true. For as long as I've known you, you've been making chocolate.
I've been making chocolates, but I've never made from the bean, the chocolate itself.
Oh, this is actually like from the bean. You got the beans, and tell me what you did.
Yeah, I found an importer of the beans, so I bought 2 bags from 2 different farms, and one's in Vietnam and one was in Madagascar. I broke them down, made a huge mess, and pulled a couple batches of chocolate off of the back end. So, yeah, first time. Wow. That's pretty crazy.
That's really impressive.
Both of you guys are very accomplished today. Like, I'm sitting next to some really amazing and smart people. Oh, this smells really delicious. I bet this is going to be good with the port.
So this is a fortified wine. Vin de liqueur blended with a slightly fermented grape must and a eau de vie, which is cognac. So it should be served chilled in a tulip-shaped glass, like a sherry glass.
Oh, look at what I served it in.
That's perfect.
My tiny little...
Yeah, it's called the little brother of cognac.
I've sort of fallen in love with cognac lately. I don't know what it is. Like, I go through these phases, and I'm always into wine, but tasting this, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get into cognac.
Yeah, this is the red variety. There's a red and a white.
Yep.
This is the red, so it's made from Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, and Merlot.
And then fortified with cognac.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is made from Uni Blanc.
Uni Blanc. What do you think of your chocolate that you made?
It's not going to be my best work, but for a first go round, I think it's not bad. It's got a lot of the fruity flavors in it. You get a lot of the same kind of notes.
Yeah.
The dried fruit, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I took a bite and was like, that's a really, without being flavored, the first thing right away I was like, this tastes like blueberries. This tastes like blue and black fruit to me.
This one's from Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, you said that. You said Vietnam and Madagascar, so the second one might be, right? It's really good.
This is delicious.
Yeah, nice work.
Okay, let's break down some rules.
Rules about?
What you eat and drink for your dessert course.
All right.
And why we pair those things, and then let's maybe talk about those rules. There's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to desserts.
Yes.
And wine pairing.
Okay.
So much so that not all desserts require dessert wine.
Tell me more.
I saw some things that suggested chocolate chip cookies and a cab.
Okay.
Really fruity berry-based desserts and Syrah.
Well, yeah, because as we know from an earlier episode...
What did I text you today?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it.
I was listening to the Wine Diamonds episode, and apparently I said something. Oh, yeah. And maybe you're serving Shiraz with its over-extracted fruity bullshit. Oh, dear. Who lets me talk on the radio?
Yeah, so it goes with...
I stand by my original statement.
Well, of course you do, because what is it paired with? Over-extracted fruity bullshit.
Oh, for
dessert.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a little interesting to see some of the non-dessert wines. Hey, listen.
Oh, my God.
So...
That's perfect.
One of the big main rules in terms of dessert goes is that you need to pair dessert with wine that is at least as sweet as the dessert itself, if not sweeter.
Yeah, at least, if not. Yes.
Sweet wine.
That is the rule, right?
That is the rule. Sweet wine will show off the sweeter flavors in food. But however, if the food is sweeter than the wine will just fall flat and be a little flabby. Not unlike my jowls.
But what if it's not?
Well, what do you mean, what if it's not? Serve a different wine. I mean...
Get some cheese out of your drawer and have a cheese plate instead of dessert.
Or not worry about it and drink what you want to drink and eat what you want to eat.
Can we myth bust that wine rule?
Well, I could say to you, well, I want champagne and wedding cake together.
Honey, no.
The cake is sweeter than the wine is, so the wine shows off as flabby and not as structured and delicious. That's why you'd go with a Moscato d'Asti and wedding cake.
Yeah, and it makes your champagne taste tinny, like aluminum foil.
So then I think we just myth busted that myth bust.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, man.
Okay. Drink what you want with what you want.
I mean, but also then just know that you might not be getting the same experience that you would if you were drinking or eating something different.
Because it goes back to our original conversation about the food should elevate the wine and the wine should elevate the food.
Yes.
So if you want both of those things to taste better, have them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
That's all food and wine pairing is.
Yeah. So if you've got, say, something that's custard or vanilla based, your desired flavors in your wine and dessert are going to be kind of mild, very light, and probably buttery.
Yeah.
So you're going to go for something like late harvest Riesling, maybe a demi-sec champagne or an Asti Spumante.
Both are pretty sweet. There is, demi-sec and sec champagnes are pretty sweet. Yeah.
If you've got something that's a little more fruit and spice based, say apple pie or pears or cinnamon, Sauterne, right? That's got a lot of those really concentrated fruit flavors. Maybe a late harvest Gewürztraminer.
Oh, yeah.
Caramels and chocolates.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got the like dark, buttery, rich, caramelized, real intense. Red wines like a late harvest Pinot Noir, Banyule, Grenache, an Australian Shiraz, port, like what I brought, which is considered the classic chocolate pairing, I think, more than red wine.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Should we try the port and some chocolate?
I think we should.
All right. Let's do it.
Or grappa was the other, which I don't really think of as dessert wine. I think of grappa as like either an aperitif or a digestif.
Yeah. Not really a dessert.
I just don't think of it as dessert wine.
Can I have it?
I think of it as jet fuel. Delicious, delicious jet fuel.
Can I have it in my fancy cup? I'm so glad you brought a port today. Thank you for bringing a port today.
Yeah, for sure. I was really... so when I was at the store and I was... Do you want it in this glass, honey?
Sure.
I found a 2009 dessert Torrontés from South America. I found a dessert Malbec, late harvest dessert Malbec from Argentina. I found some ice wine from Canada. I found some Vinsanto from Italy.
Have you seen the ice wine from Germany? It comes out of Germany. Every once in a while you see it.
Do you remember what it's called?
No. Do you have the number 2 wine from that list?
I hate you so much. I got your list right here, lady.
Hilary, can we taste your second chocolate with this port?
So this one is one I got when I was at a chocolate show in New York a couple months ago. And I'd never seen anything like it, so I thought it was pretty cool. It is the actual cocoa bean, and then it's covered in a really thin layer of chocolate. So I think it would be really nice with the port. It has a lot of just the flavor of the cocoa bean itself and very little else. There's a little bit of ginger to it, but a lot of dried fruit and all of those kind of good notes.
It's like show and tell. You guys are like show and tell today, and I'm just sitting and eating and drinking. Like, I brought this port, and I have these delicious chocolate.
Definitely let me know if I'm wrong, and this is not. Yeah.
So did you make these?
No, this was a company. It's called Picari, and these are they do a bean to bar thing as well. So the chocolate on the outside is there from their farms in Ecuador, I believe.
These are really super interesting. Not what I was expecting, but damn delicious.
It's a lot of texture.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of flavor, and I really like it. I definitely like it with the port.
Yeah, the port's
That's
really
delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't serve food sweeter than the wine.
Mm-mm.
Rule number 1.
Yeah.
And here's some of the reasoning behind that.
Okay.
Wine has acid in it, even sweet wine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So having a very sweet dessert will enhance the taste of the acid. So acids are sour, and sour is not usually the main taste you want as part of the dessert. So if you're serving a very sweet dessert, you really should be looking for very sweetest wines you can find.
Government brioches.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Who's your copy editor? And one of the things that someone recommended was maybe dial back on the amount of sugar in your dessert if you're pairing it with a really sweet wine.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that way you're not totally blowing out, in terms of how sweet something is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rule number 2.
Tell me.
If there is cream in your dessert, avoid acidic wine. So
I would agree. That would make a nice, not cool thing happen.
Right, because that's how you make cheese.
Yeah.
Acid milk.
Yeah.
Do you want to make cheese for dessert? I mean, I like cheese for dessert, but I don't want to fucking make it.
Not in my mouth, nor in my belly.
No,
Thank you.
Amazon. And those are pretty much as terms of like the two kind of
the hard and fast
rules. Yeah. So
what do you think the cider is going to pair with? I'm always fascinated about cider.
Well, it's bourbon barrel aged. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's probably going to have some really interesting caramel, right? Some of those notes that you'd expect from bourbon.
Yeah.
That, like caramel.
Like the spiced caramely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very bright and kind of juicy. It's a little bit of acid on the end.
This has been open for a couple of days. So
it still has a lot of life to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't hold this for another.
No.
Like I would drink this in the next day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I don't know if I would pair this with anything that we've tried tonight.
I would agree.
Yeah, but like an apple crumble or a pie.
I would say something that has a lot of. So I feel like in terms of. I mean, this is already off the mark from wine, which means I think you have a little bit more freedom in the rules.
Yeah, a little bit more flexibility.
This I think would be good with something that had a lot of baking spices.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, like a lot of ginger, a lot of cinnamon, some
pumpkin
nutmeg, pumpkin. This would be great with pumpkin pie. I have a whole list of pumpkin pie. Maybe not pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I think I would pair it with something definitely similar. So the apples would be a nice one. Mm-hmm. A little bit of spice though, just to cut it a bit, would be nice for me too. Not just cinnamon and all of those, but something that's a little hot.
Like
ginger.
Yeah, or peppers or ginger. Both would be good.
Yeah, you're right. It does have a spice to it, like a cayenne. If you put a cayenne in a apple,
right?
Maybe with a caramel sauce.
Yeah, or a spicy caramel sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, so pumpkin pie and other pumpkin desserts tend to be sweet, creamy, and spicy. Mm-hmm. Many wines pair well with these flavors, balancing the creaminess and complementing the spice. So the suggestions that I found were tawny port, which this is not.
No, what kind of port is this?
This is the Graham's 6 Grapes Reserve. So the grapes in this are Touriga Nacional, Touriga Francesca, Tinta Roriz, Tinta Barroca, Tinta Amarela, and Tinta Cal. Tinta Roriz is Tempranillo.
I'm really impressed that you just pronounced all those grapes.
Portuguese is closer to Spanish than French or Italian, so Spanish is what I took in high school. I lived in Puerto Rico.
I like it.
It's
your night, man.
I might not know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I could pronounce it most of the time. As opposed to French, where you don't pronounce all the letters. In Spanish, you do.
Yeah.
Makes it a little bit easier for me.
I went back to that port, and that port is so good. And I keep looking over at all your chocolate you have over here, and I'm like, oh yeah, port and chocolate.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's such a good, like a really good, dense, like almost flourless chocolate cake.
Oh yeah.
And a good port is my absolute go-to, made with a good raspberry reduction or a good like dark fruit reduction. Because I still think with a younger port, you get a good amount of some of those fruit flavors.
And a little bit of cream just to break it up.
Absolutely. For sure.
A little bit of cream on the top.
Yeah. So with pumpkin pie, some of the other things they suggest are Australian dessert muscats, also known as stickies.
There's a wine called a sticky.
That's what in Australia they call their dessert wines, stickies, because they're super sweet.
Wow.
Or Madeira.
Oh, I do like a good Madeira.
With tiramisu, we've got a Vinsanto, which we've talked about. And Vinsanto is really delicious because it's not as dense as port, but it's got some of those.
It's like the same flavors, right?
It's got some of the similar flavors. So it's real nutty, and you see it served with a lot of like we had it with biscotti that had a lot of hazelnuts because in that northern area of Italy you see a lot of hazelnuts. Nutella is where that comes from, right?
Yep.
So it's so classic with tiramisu because it's that like nutty coffee, caramel, like all of those
creamy
notes together. Yeah.
Oh God, it's so good.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite dessert.
Tiramisu.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also suggest a cream sherry or a ruby port. Right. We'll have a whole port day and we'll talk about the differences of port because how port is made is really fascinating.
Super fascinating.
And
yeah, we'll do a whole episode on port. It's just like sherry. Sherry is don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
Sherry.
One of the other really famous desserts, lemon meringue pie, ice wine.
Oh yeah. I can see that. Really high acid.
Late harvest wine. So if you've got a late harvest Riesling, which is different than something like Sauterne, which is botrytized. Late harvest means they're just picking it later in the harvest so that the sugar content has gone up.
Yep. And ice wine they have to pick while it's frozen.
Frozen, so. Yeah. Yep. Those are the rules.
Yeah, that's all different ways of having dessert wines.
Yeah. And or champagne was the other one.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Champagne with pumpkin
lemon meringue pie, dear.
Oh, lemon meringue. Yeah. Okay.
Not pumpkin.
Whew. I almost had a heart attack.
No. Creme brulee was Sauterne, Muscat, or Gewürz were some of the things there. But I don't know. I think Moscato d'Asti is such a fun.
It's easy. It is like the peach schnapps of the wine world. Absolutely. Thanks for that. Absolutely, the peach schnapps of the wine world.
Here's the thing. Can I throw a little science at you?
Show me. My socks are on. I'm ready.
So the average sweetness level of a bottle of Moscato d'Asti ranges from about 90 to 120 grams of sugar per liter.
Yeah. So that's about sec, the same as a sec champagne.
Well, it's about as much as a thing of Coke. The beverage, not the drug.
A liter of Coke, the beverage, Coca-Cola.
Is
the same as a Moscato d'Asti.
Yeah, but because the acidity levels in soda are so much lower, the perceived sweetness of Moscato is higher. So it's actually not as sweet as you think it is. It's sweeter because it's acidic. Coke doesn't taste as sweet. If you were to have a glass of Coke and a glass of this Moscato next to each other,
this would taste way
it's
sweeter.
The exact same amount of sugar in both of them. The reason you think that this Moscato is sweeter is because of the acid.
Wow.
Bam.
Science.
Dropping science.
I think you blew my socks off. That's
Bam.
Amazing.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting little...
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you tasted Coca-Cola next to this, Coca-Cola would not taste as sweet, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was one other...
I can't even imagine drinking a liter of Coke.
Yeah, no.
That would
gross.
be rough.
Gross. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right.
At all. Not right at all. Do we get our hold music today?
Do the hustle. Yeah, so I think that a lot of these things are good in terms of after dinner, and for a lot of reasons. I think that you see. I mean, dessert is different everywhere, right? Like coffee is not always served with dessert. It's very traditional, but not always. But it depends on where you're at. You know, I think we saw at least when we were in Italy, dessert done very differently than how we do dessert here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, dessert wines in Italy are served with dessert, not with coffee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
a lot of the places we went, the dessert wine was served complimentary with dessert. Yeah, it wasn't an extra glass that you had to pay for. It was a tiny little taste that went with your dessert.
Right.
Yeah. That's civilized.
Now, just because people don't do things like that doesn't make them uncivilized.
Kind of. Just a little bit. When you serve dessert, you should serve just a tiny little taste of whatever dessert wine that you have that goes with that dessert. I think if more people were exposed to the fact that you can have a little dessert wine with something at the end of your meal and it's not obnoxious and
Right. It's not sweet for the sake of sweet.
Yeah, like introduce this concept that this is this thing that you can have that's not awful.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not going to have a whole glass of this. This is not, dessert wine is not, you don't have, I mean, maybe you do, but then you're drinking a Coca-Cola. But this is like a little sip that you have with your dessert at the end of the meal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, it really breaks it down to...
Now I'm the pretentious wine fuck.
Hey, you get the award this week. Congratulations.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
It was me all last week. So I personally don't have a huge sweet tooth.
Yeah, I don't either.
So dessert wines and I are not the best of friends.
You're both wrong.
Says the chocolate maker.
Says the chocolatier. Now you put 92% cacao, dark chocolate in front of me, and I'm the happiest camper on the face of the planet.
That's not really sweet, though, right? I mean,
no, it's not.
Well, a lot of people still consider it dessert and sweet. I guess in my world, it is. Like, I'm a pastry chef. I'm a trained pastry chef, right?
Right.
I don't like super sweet desserts. I would never put like an apple crisp or something in front of people. I like to play with flavors and make them.
Right.
I like to tone it down.
Right.
You've never had my apple crisp.
Oh, you nasty. You nasty. I don't know. I would rather have a cheese plate than dessert.
Yeah.
Or if we're getting a dessert, I would like to split it because I usually only want 1 or 2 bites and then I'm good.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because I just don't have a huge sweet tooth, which is why I'm not a big dessert wine drinker.
Yeah.
Now this port, however,
thank you.
I love port. I think it's tasty. I think it's amazing. I like that you can serve port with everything. There are, enough different styles of port that you can find the right one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, listen, white port, goddamn delicious.
Yes. Just like we will learn when we do our sherry episode.
But that's port, not sherry.
Yeah, it's different. But they're the same. There's all different kinds. And
you're saying we'll learn that there are different kinds of sherry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought you said we'd learn about white port on the sherry episode.
No, we're going to learn about white port on the port episode.
Okay.
But it's very similar to sherry. Yeah. Fuck.
I need a grown up.
Oh, where's my adult today?
Okay, so since we were talking about port, some things that I would suggest with a port. So let's wrap all of this up in terms of we'll break down each of these wines and kind of give a little quick 101.
101. Yeah, do it.
Okay, so port, really rich, flavorful cheeses, blue cheeses like the ones we brought today.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate and caramel desserts would be really great. Something salted, maybe something smoky.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of options in terms of port. And a really popular way to serve a ruby port in the summer with a meal, right? This isn't just as dessert. It's served with a meal, is on the rocks with a little peel of lime.
Huh, we'll have to try that this summer.
I think we should. Maybe that'll be our new summer beverage.
I'd like a ruby port with a peel of lime on the rocks, please.
On the rocks. And for sure there are definitely different types of port. This, I think, is not vintage or late bottled or ruby. I don't know what you would call this. Maybe you would call this a ruby port. It doesn't say ruby though, which is why it's just a reserve. I don't know. I'll do more research when we get to port, and I'll expand upon that a little bit more.
And then we have the red fortified that is great with everything.
Yeah, so that's going to be closer to a Sauterne, and it's definitely full-bodied, sweet, really good chilled. It's very, very good cold. It's not quite as delicious.
A little bit more warm.
I'm talking about a totally different one.
Oh, you are.
Shit.
You're talking about this one.
Yeah.
This one.
That's what I started talking about. You were talking about something different.
That's okay. I was just going backwards from port to...
Right. Okay. So this you're going to want to use maybe more as a cognac and maybe more as an aperitif.
Yeah.
Less of a pairing with a dessert wine.
The Pinot.
Or less of using this as a dessert wine to be paired with dessert.
Yes.
Right. This is going to be a little bit more maybe after dinner, before dessert.
Yep. Little nip. Little nip.
Danced this dance before.
Hey.
Yeah, that's what I would do with that one. And then
while you're waiting for your dessert.
The Fauternes.
The Fauterne. I love it. Oh my God, I love it so much.
Full-bodied, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Really good cold, really good with fruit themed desserts.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And then you have the Moscato d'Asti, which is the peach schnapps of the party.
And that one definitely you can have in multiple different areas of your meal. Mm-hmm. Moscato was used during, maybe I can find it. I found a little bit about how winemakers would serve Moscato to their workers in the winery.
Really?
During harvest season, because it's a low alcohol content. So you could have a glass or two at lunch. It's not going to weigh you down like a big heavy red wine. It's light, it's bright, it's good with food, it's good with...
They probably served it on ice.
Probably.
I could see it. I mean, if you serve Moscato d'Asti on ice, I could see that being pretty good. It'd water it down just a little bit as the ice melted, so it wasn't so sweet.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty tasty beverage that you can do a lot with. That would be good with a spicy dish, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Something that's pretty aromatic. Thai, Southeast Asian.
Super spicy Thai.
I think.
That'd be really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hilary, do you have anything else for us today?
Wait, did we try that other chocolate?
There's still one more chocolate. This one is back to one of my creations. And it's dark milk chocolate. I don't really do the full sweet. It's a dark chocolate. It's 58%, so it's kind of on the low end, but there is milk in it as well. So a little bit creamy, but you still get all of the flavor notes from the actual farm that they come from.
And this one is from Madagascar?
Yes.
It's got such a different texture than the first one. It's not as fruity.
The milk fat that's in it doesn't melt on your tongue at the same rate that the cocoa butter does. So it takes a little longer at your body temperature to melt down and get all the flavors coming out of it.
But I think I like this one with the port better than the first one.
Really?
You get a lot more of like the caramel,
the cream of the port. This is an excellent pairing.
So I think there's something I like about both of them, but I kind of preferred the dark chocolate. It brought out more of those fruity notes, whereas there is something about the combination of a slightly milky chocolate and the port but it reminds me of the back end of one of those Cadbury cream eggs. So it's really full on my tongue, a lot of milky flavors.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. For that, because I want the port to kind of wash that creaminess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like them both. You can leave them here if you want.
You'll find us both passed out later with just slabs of chocolate melting in our hands.
Yeah. An
empty
bottle
port
of
bottles.
port.
Yeah. Good chocolate.
Good dessert.
Yeah.
A lot of sexy science.
A little off the rails.
That's what dessert is.
That's what dessert is.
Yeah. It's okay.
You're jumping topics. You're moving seats. Try this thing. Sharing that thing with someone.
Yeah.
Getting a splash of everything.
Bit of this in my glass. Yeah. That's dessert.
Yep. That's what I like about dessert. Maybe you don't like dessert. Maybe you want a cheese plate. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Or you just want a glass of bubbles at the end of the night. Reach for a glass of bubbles at the end of the night. Clean your palate. Get a Campari Spritz.
Oh, those are so good.
Who are we to tell you what you can and can't have?
Don't be a pretentious wine fuck.
Yeah, and always take 2 bottles.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great time.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.